Welcome to bulk delete part 2. Alright, in this session, what are we going to do is pretty simple. We have in the previous session, you saw that we had the delete button over here, and we used to delete the record manually one by one, so that was kind of buggy. So, in this design, what I have done is like I have added a checkbox instead of a button, and on top of that, I have added the delete button, which removes all the records like this. So all the checkboxes are there, you can see, and you got delete button, right? But right now I'm not gonna hit the delete button because right now, because initially when I started coding and recording, what happened, like everything worked out fine, but at the time of saving, my recording got destroyed. So I generally do is like, when I demonstrate, I do the coding simultaneously, but right now everything is ready, so I'll simply walk you through what exactly I did, right? So that will save a lot of time. But in order to make sure how it works, you need to watch the previous video, the bulk delete part 1, for more info, right? But anyways, I'm gonna guide you through everything. So looking at the structure, as you can see, I got name and expert and the checkbox. Now how did I got that? So let's focus on UI first. So there's a thing called as inside of Gridview. Generally when we display the records, we show in terms of columns, right? So inside of columns, it gives me a facility, a grid view gives me a facility that I can have my own template fields, like I can have my own controls which I want. So what I did is, like, for in order to do that, you need to create a template field, inside of which you need to use an item template, and inside of which you need to show something, then you need to add a control, right? So there are a lot of templates are offered by the grid view control. You can check them out, like edit, page, or template. A lot of things are there, right? So this is pretty basic. So likewise, I have added my own controls, and I have done the binding from them, that when the page loads and the data we have in our hand, it automatically renders the data for us, right? So right now, looking at the design, you can see I have a checkbox which has simply ID. It does nothing, right? But it is a run equal to server. Then I got an ID which is not visible at this stage, it is hidden. In good practices, we know never show ID to the end users, right? So we have the ID, we have the label and ID, and the binding is done this way. There are two ways you can do eval and bind function. I choose generally eval if I'm using an item template, and the bind if I'm using some text box or editing controls, right? So it's your choice, like how you want to use it. So eval ID, now you're gonna ask what is eval ID. So I'll show you my database if you are visiting this video for the first time. I got a TBL employee, I got ID, I got name, expert, and level. So this is an ID which I'm trying to bind here. Okay, so well, what exactly I'm doing from the code behind is I'm writing a query, I'm fetching everything from this guy and trying to bind the data set into the grid view. So based on that, it works pretty good, right? So we'll see that next, and the same thing I have repeated for the name and expert. So you can see this is the name, and I have again used the label control for that, and next is the expert. If you want, I can increase one more, so that would be, I think, a level. Control V, and something stupid happened. Expert, this guy needs to be an expert, and this guy needs to be a level. level. So in the browser you can see, I'm sorry, you cannot see, and this guy should be level. If I make any mistakes, then it will show up. Okay, so do not need to worry. And why is it shouting at me? Does not have a property name template field. Why not? Okay, I think I copied some, I removed something. Okay, control KD, and if I look the design now, I have one more column, right? And let's run this thing and see what do we get. So you can see the levels as well, right? Alright, and I'll do one thing, I'll go back end and I'll add some data. I'll add TK1, and this guy is like KK 1000. Then I will add TK2, then this guy would be NN, and this guy would be 2000, and then I add this guy, and this guy is expert in HR, and I'll call this guy as 1000. Alright, so we got three monkey crab people in the town, right? So we are going to delete these records. So we have the data, and just checking, yes, they are available, right? So let's close it down right now. And so you got the idea how the UI is designed. The code behind is pretty simple, right? And the code behind, if you go when your page load for the first time, okay, I try to call a method called as load grid, which in turn does nothing but executes a query, fills the data into the data set, and simply binds the data into the grid. Right, so the query is pretty simple. Select star from TBL employee, and you providing a connection. Connection is a SQL connection which points to my connection string called as employee connection string. You can have your own database, you can have your own connection string. So loading part is pretty simple. Now looking at the structure and the design, you can see there's a delete button in the top, right? It does not hold the latest data. What happened? I think something is missing. Yes, now we have the latest data. Okay. So it has a button on the top, and the delete button has a code. This is a delete button. When I click on that, I need to stop. When I double click on that, I'll end up over here, btn delete dot click. Now the main important thing is, like, when on the button click, what you're going to do is, your plan is to iterate to the grid view rows. You want to iterate to the rows. You want to know that what exactly you have inside a row. Suppose I am a grid view, I'm trying to render myself row by row. So first time I'll come in, I'll check, is this guy checked? Is this guy, if this guy is checked, then I'm supposed to delete this record. If this guy is checked, I'm supposed to delete this record as well, right? If these guys are not checked, then I don't care, I will not delete the record. So what exactly I'm looking over here is the checkbox value and a visibility false ID, which you remember I just said the ID. This is an ID which is there, but it is visible false, so you cannot see, but still you want to access them from the code behind. So what you can do for that, so there's a technique called as, while iterating to the row, you will say, hey row, just go inside and see if you have control name, check delete, and please check that this control is nothing but a checkbox. So this is a row in which you're trying to look for this control, and this control should be checkbox. So you have typecasted over here whatever is the value that control holds, or any properties, please bring them all the values inside of this new. Okay, do the same thing for the label. Just go inside and check if you have any LBL ID as a control inside of you. Yes, we do have, right? And plus whatever values and properties you have, hold it inside of this guy. So basically now we have the value of checkbox, and we have the value of an ID, but we are not sure what exactly those values are. So what I'm gonna do is, I'll say, I'm sorry, not response, it should be response. Response dot right should be, I will say ID, I'm sorry, what is this, ID dot text, because I'm casting as a text box, so I'll get all the text box properties and all the values which I need, right? And now I will run. Okay, so as soon as I run, the moment I hit bulk delete, it will not delete the record because I haven't checked anything yet, but in return it will give me all the IDs. Okay, so these all are the IDs I'm getting, which are right now in the database. But what if now I go inside, take this statement, control X and control V. It means like I have chosen a record for a deletion now, right? So it will give me an ID for that. So what we are going to do is, we are going to delete this goof. The ID for this goof should be, one second, let me get it, control WS, the database, show table data, and the data is coming. So ID for this guy is 23, right? So when we delete, the grid view should give me 23 back, right? So this guy is selected, and now help bug delete. So say yes, and it gives me 23 at the very same time. The record is gone, and it is also gone from the database itself. So let's check. And yes, this is boring, but it is gone, right? So you're getting my point. What I'm trying to say is, right? So we don't need this. You trust me now that the deletion works, right? So this is what we do. We need the basic values, and based on that we need to perform some operation. So I'm not doing anything interesting in here. Once I know if the checkbox is checked, I'm trying to get an ID in the same row, and based on that I'm doing the deletion. Deletion any baby can do. Delete from tbl employee where id is equal to id. This is my SQL command. You can have your own techniques like linq to edmax and hibernate. I don't know what you want to use, but you can use it. Open the connection, execute the query, get it done. Once the loop completes, your job is to load the grid, I mean refresh the grid, to notify the user what just happened, right? So this is the basic thing, pretty simple. Like I can say, like within like how many, within 50 lines of code we have just 50 or 63, we have built the whole functionality, right? So let's get the demo for the second last time. We'll be back. So now I'm gonna delete these two guys, and we'll make sure these guys are gone. Alright, they are gone. And the pop-up we are getting, generally what happens, when you do the delete operation, it is always in a good practice to give a pop-up to user, dude, are you sure what you're doing? So that's what I did. On client click, I wrote the script, return confirm, dude, are you sure? So it means I'm getting some feedback from user. If you say cancel, then it will not execute this delete click, so the code behind will not get executed. But if you hit true, I mean you said yes, then it will get executed. So that's the basic thing. Alright, so I hope you got the idea what I'm trying to say and trying to deliver here, so you can do it. And if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up to my videos, share my with your friends if you think they are in need, subscribe me for YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Let me know your thoughts, and in terms of comments, if you have any requests. This video I just made because some guy requested this video, so I had a time, I did this. If you think any improvements need to be done, please let me know. Thank you for watching this video one more time. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.